Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to look straight under the hood of a highly structured ecosystem known as Difficult BTC. Now, just to be clear right out of the gate, we're not here to take sides or endorse any of these financial projections. Instead, we're simply going to unpack the mechanics, the claims, and the blueprints straight from their platform's own documentation to see exactly how this smart contract is engineered to run. Let's dive right in.
To really make sense of this complex matrix, we're going to hit 6 key areas: the Bitcoin macro trend, decentralized system integrity, the smart entry split, the 16-slot auto upgrade, the earning potential breakdown, and finally, we'll wrap up with the rules of engagement.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, the Bitcoin macro trend. So the platform's whole pitch actually starts with a bit of history. We all know back in 2009, Bitcoin launched at just a microscopic fraction of a cent, $0.0008 to be exact. Then, by 2013, we saw that first massive surge past the $1,000 mark. Fast forward to 2021, and institutional adoption rocketed it up to 66 grand. Now, looking ahead, their documentation projects a 2025 digital financial revolution with the potential to reach over $100,000. The platform is essentially using this historical momentum to highlight the sheer power of decentralized value, and that's the exact trajectory their system is trying to tap into.
Moving right along to Section 2, Decentralized System Integrity.
The platform claims its entire operational integrity rests on 2 main pillars. On one side, you have automated execution. This means the system is fully decentralized. We're talking auto spillovers, unlimited recycles, and instant transactions with absolutely zero human interference. On the other side, you've got immutable security. Because it's deployed directly on the blockchain, there's no single owner in control, no dependency on a central company, and they've got anti-manipulation logic baked right into the code itself. Basically, they're presenting a mathematical machine that once you flip the switch, just runs entirely on its own rules.
Next up, Section 3, the smart entry split. Now, this is where the money movement gets really interesting. To jump into the ecosystem, there's a joining fee of 0.0005 Bitcoin. But that fee doesn't just sit in one big vault. It's intelligently split right down the middle. Half of it, 0.00025 Bitcoin, goes into what they call the working slot execution. Think of that as the active engine. The other half goes directly into the non-working slot execution, which acts as the passive engine. This exact 50-50 split is literally the foundational mechanism powering the dual income streams they advertise.
Which brings us to Section 4, the 16-slot auto upgrade.
Once you're inside, you don't just sit at that tiny starting fraction of Bitcoin. The system is actually designed to push you up an escalating 16-slot ladder. You start at slot 1 at 0.00025 BTC. But as the matrix turns, you're theoretically pushed to slot 8, which requires 0.032 BTC. Then up to slot 12 at half a Bitcoin, and it climbs all the way up to slot 16, which carries a massive position value of 8.192 Bitcoin. It's this wildly exponential structure completely managed behind the scenes by the automated smart contract.
But how do those active slots actually work in practice? Well, when funds enter a working slot, they are mathematically routed in very specific directions. Some of it goes straight to your wallet as direct income, other funds are pushed upward to an upline, and crucially, the system triggers automated recycles to keep the whole matrix moving, specifically pointing out that during these phases, nodes 4 and 5 route to a reward pool. So, the big takeaway here is that this is entirely a closed-loop engine of capital distribution. There's no central company holding the bag.
All right, let's talk numbers in Section 5, earning potential breakdown.
So, how does this actually stack up within the passive matrix? At slot 1, your profit base is pretty small, 0.0005 BTC, but it gets hit with a 16 times multiplier, generating 0.008 BTC. By the time the system scales up to slot 8, you're looking at a 9 times multiplier that generates over half a Bitcoin. And at the very top tier, slot 16, the profit base itself is so large that just a 1 times multiplier yields over 16 Bitcoin. This breakdown maps out exactly how baseline profit and system multipliers theoretically compound to create non-working income.
Zooming out for the big picture, looking at maximum capacity, the documentation claims a near-perfect balance between the 2 sides of the system. The ecosystem aggregates an active working engine total of roughly 62.5 Bitcoin, running right alongside a passive non-working engine total of roughly 65.5 Bitcoin.
And according to their source docs, when you unite those two decentralized streams, the active and the passive, and they complete their full 16-slot cycles, it creates a staggering total combined earning potential of 128 Bitcoin. That specific number is plastered all over their white paper as the ultimate mathematical destination of this matrix.
Finally, let's look at the rulebook in Section 6, Rules of Engagement.
To play in this space, there are 4 mandatory rules hard-coded right into the contract. First, to qualify for spillovers, you must actively refer 2 direct members. Second, that initial passive income from slot 1, that's continuous and automatic for everybody. Third, monthly distribution of rewards is strictly programmed to process on the 30th or 31st of every month. And fourth, and you really want to pay attention to this one, deep passive activation. That means if you want to access passive income from slots 2 through 16, you are required to have at least 1 direct referral. So, while they heavily advertise a passive engine, unlocking the deeper tiers inherently means you have to actively expand the network.
On the technical side, because this operates exclusively on the BEP20 chain, the whole system has to be connected via decentralized Web3 wallets. The documentation lists TokenPocket as their primary supported wallet, along with familiar names like MetaMask, Binance, BitGet, and OKX Wallet. The promise here is that users have full control of their funds natively through these apps, and they make a huge point of highlighting that absolutely zero identity verification is needed to participate.
So, we've unpacked the blueprints, from the macro trend justifications, up through the 16-slot upgrade models, right down to the strict rules running the matrix. As we wrap up this explainer and look at the pure mechanics of the system, you really have to ask yourself, does this elaborate smart contract truly represent the future of decentralized financial empowerment like the developers claim, or is it simply a highly intricate mathematical machine that strictly depends on endless community growth and continuous referrals to stay alive? Either way, it's a fascinating look at how far smart contract engineering can be pushed on the blockchain. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the mechanics behind the math.